Hey y'all, I am in the kitchen today and surprisingly I am not making a jam or a jelly because that season is over and we're moving on to pickling season. I am producing a lot of cucumbers out in the garden, so I am going to start with making a kosher dill pickle relish. This is not a fancy recipe, just like your plain old classic pickle relish or Heinz pickle relish, whichever one you prefer. This recipe calls for vinegar, cucumbers, dill, garlic, and salt. If you cannot find pickling salt, you can always use the kosher salt. You just don't want to use a salt that has iodide in it. That makes it cloudy. It really probably wouldn't hurt anything, but most of us avoid it unless that's the only thing that we have, just because of the cloudiness. It shouldn't affect the outcome of your recipe. So pickling salt or kosher salt. So let's get started with the recipe. Now this recipe calls for 7 cups of finely chopped cucumber. I did not notice this cucumber out in the garden and it started to turn yellow. I did taste it. It's not bitter, so it's good to use. I've already washed it. Now I am just going to finely chop it. You can put it in a food processor as long as you don't puree it. I'll probably end up putting mine in my food processor and pulsing it so that it just finely chops it up. We're not looking for baby food consistency here. So just chop it up like this. And if I didn't already say so, we're gonna get 7 cups of chopped cucumber. Remember to wash your cucumbers first. If you're using store-bought cucumbers, that's fine, but you will probably want to, at the very least, stripe them with your food peeler because they are covered in a waxy substance so that they don't rot in shipment. You can also soak them in apple cider vinegar first and get as much of the outside coating off as you can, but I would highly recommend that you at least take half the peel off of store-bought cucumbers. You're going to cut off the blossom end and the stem end. Those go in your compost. Just keep cutting them up. In the meantime, I'm getting my jars ready. Alright, now these are going into my food processor. Okay, now we're going to check it. So far I've got about 4 cups of chopped cucumber and I need 7, so I'm going to go pick some more cucumbers. A lot of them are still too small, as you can see. Let's look on the other side. There's a little one. Okay, now you want to make sure you don't have any big chunks in here. Like, see, the food processor didn't get that chunk. There's always at least a couple. You want to go ahead and chop those, hand chop those up. You don't want any big chunks in here. Okay. Did a good job of chopping it this time. Usually there's more than that. we go. So we're going to set this aside, and then we're going to measure in 2 3/4 cup of vinegar. Into a saucepan. 1 1/2 teaspoon of dill. There's 1. And 1/2. Then you want a teaspoon of garlic, minced garlic. If you want to use fresh garlic, that's up to you. Two and a half tablespoons of salt. I'm putting all of this into a saucepan. Okay. We're going to cook it on a medium heat until the salt has dissolved. So you're looking for all that salt to dissolve. Okay, now that the salt is dissolved, we're going to add in our diced cucumbers. Now we are going to turn the heat up a little bit, and we're going to bring this to a boil. Once it does come to a boil, we're going to boil it for 10 minutes. So right now we're waiting for it to come to a boil. For some people, this is too strong, and you may want to add some sugar to cut the acidity, the tartness. I would start with a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar and move up from there. I like mine tart. I don't want a sweet relish at all, so mine will stay this way. Like I said, if you want it a little less tart, and you can taste it at this point with a spoon. If you want it a little less tart, go ahead and add a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar and go up from there. But remember, the more sugar you put in here, the closer to sweet relish this gets. And this is not a sweet relish recipe. This is a dill relish recipe. So I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then I'll be back. Now that it's boiling, I'm going to boil it for 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Now, because not all cucumbers are the same as far as how liquidy they are, some are juicier than others, this may be too liquidy for you, so you have two options. You can either continue to boil it until some of the water cooks out of it, or you can take it and put it through a strainer like this. And drain out some of the liquid. Not all of it, of course. Still gonna need some liquid. I don't want it real liquidy. Something about like this would be okay. So I have drained some out. Oops. Just to show you how you can do that. And then you would put this in your jars. And I'm going to put that back in there. And continue to cook it down some. Just a little bit. And I'm going to dump this out. Alright, now that it's a good consistency, that's fine with me. I'm going to ladle it into my jars. Never can tell how many jars I'm going to need, so I overdo it. Be sure and leave a 1/2 inch headspace. This one I'm not concerned about because it's going to be going straight into the refrigerator. It's not a full jar. I could make a full jar. Oh, here, I'll go ahead and make a full jar out of this one. See how hot that is. There we go. And we'll use this little bit for dinner tonight. So 1/2 inch headspace. Now wipe your rims. You can use vinegar or water because this isn't dairy. Wipe the rims real good. I'm reusing jars, which will totally tick off the canning Karens, but I do not care. Canning supplies are hard to find in some areas right now, and generations of people have been reusing jars. It is not a problem, usually. The risk is up to you. You can the way you want in your house. I can the way I want in my house. We're going to get these in a water bath and water bath it for 15 minutes. Okay, they are in my pot. Once they start boiling, then we'll set a timer for 15 minutes. We're going to water bath these for 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, you're going to take it out and sit it on your towel. Whoops, it's falling over. Whoop, that one's set. This is called a lug lid, by the way. Anyway, that's how you make homemade kosher dill pickle relish. I forgot to tell y'all to remove any air bubbles, but you know, most of you know how to do that. Take your little spatula thing or a knife and run it around the sides so you can get any air bubbles out. But anyway, that's how you do it. And that's how you make kosher dill pickle relish. Thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe.